Fallout is probably one of my favorite open world style games. I love Fallout 3 and 4 and have replayed those games so many times. They combine so many different ideas together that the games can be absolutely terrifying in one scene, while it can be so stupid at times.
I know this place like the back of my.
I do plan to make a video that covers all the games, but today I just want to cover the TV show, because prior to this video I actually never watched the show, which is mostly because I don't watch the many popular shows anymore. I also find most shows that come up recently to be pretty boring. I also don't really watch shows that require subscription service and would just wait for a DVD release. It's actually one of the big reasons why I never watched Stranger Things before, because I always just waited for a DVD release, but it never came. But anyways, I went to Halloween Horror Night last year and I got to experience the Fallout Maze and got to try out their exclusive food items. It was okay. Terrifier and Five Nights at Freddy's were just so much better compared to this, but this got me thinking about the show as the maze was loosely based on it. And with the fact that a new season has been fully released now, I thought it would be the perfect time to cover it. I also wanted a small video done so you guys have something for April, as I'm still working on my Sonic Archie video. But let's stop delaying and get into the first season. This show is surprisingly really good, and I mean really good. I could even say that this season is the best video game adaptation I've ever seen. Most video game adaptations are either the worst thing you've ever seen or just simply a good adaptation that's mostly beloved for its references. This show in particular isn't just a good adaptation, but it was able to create its own story based on the lore of the games, in which that story is pretty fucking good. The show even expands in the pre-war era of the games. It focuses on Vault Tech in the background. It does all this while managing 3 different character arcs and backstories. But let's stop delaying and get into the first episode. The episode starts on the birthday party before the bomb drops, where we follow Cooper and his daughter who are hired for entertainment for the party. As we see the party go on, we hear what's going on in the world through the radios, and it shows people are panicking about the incoming nuclear war. And while all this is going on, we see Cooper comfort his daughter by saying if the bombs go off, lift your thumb up, and if the blast is smaller than it, you have a chance to survive the blast. It was actually a pretty touching scene. After this, Cooper goes to give her a slice of cake, but that's when the bombs go off, which is this scene.
Is it your thumb or mine?
We then watch people panic and friends turn to enemies as we watch Cooper and his daughter escape as they get on his horse, and we see more bombs going off in the background. This shit was genuinely terrifying to watch. The scene perfectly builds up the tension of the incoming war, and when the bombs go off, they perfectly capture the weight and terror of seeing a nuclear bomb going off. The scene is played straight up, barely any jokes. Well, besides this one.
Why the hell is Cooper Howard working kids' birthday parties?
What else? Alimony.
My favorite part of this intro is when we hear the weatherman freak out as he can't keep up with the weather report.
I'm sorry, I can't do this. I can't do the weather if I don't even know if there's going to be a next week.
Happy thoughts
I'm not
today.
I'm just happy the show didn't sugarcoat the end of the world or try to avoid the subject altogether. I mean shit, all this happens during a kid's birthday party. It's just a perfect intro that captures the terror of nuclear war and perfectly transitions into the show. We now follow 2 different characters after this, which is Lucy and Max. We'll focus on Lucy for now. Lucy is the daughter of the overseer for Vault 33 that is connected to Vault 32 and 31. Lucy is asking the council for a trade that will get her a husband so she can stop dating her cousins, in which, yes, the show doesn't shy away from the incest jokes.
Messing around with your cousin, it's all well and good for kids, but it's not a sustainable long-term sexual practice, you know?
Yeah, I know.
We cut to Lucy's wedding where she gets married to a stud and has some private time with them. But things aren't right, as Lucy's brother Norm discovers that Vault 32 has been attacked and learns that the Raiders have broken in and killed the residents of Vault 32, and then plans to do the same to them. This leads to a pretty cool and grisly fight as we watch the residents of Vault 33 try and fight to survive against the Raiders. This leads to so many gruesome deaths and a pretty tense fight between Lucy and their husband. The fight comes to an end when the leader Moldaver keeps the group hostage in exchange for Lucy's father, Hank. They take Hank and blow up the entry of Vault 32 as the Raiders escape. This entire segment is just so fucking good. It shows the show's capability to combine horror and humor that mixes together really well to make it a pretty engaging show. Also, want to bring up that I love how they interpret the vaults. I especially like how they make a fake outdoor for events by using a projector to project the outside. I also like how they use the projector breaking down during the fight to make it look like an atom bomb going off in the background. It was just such a nice touch. The rest of Lucy's story follows her escaping the vaults with the help of her brother and the gatekeeper, Chet, as the councils want to send a search party after Hank as they are more focused on keeping the vault secured. Lucy makes it to the surface as we get a pretty good shot of the landscape. Also love how they show the corpses from the nuclear blast and it keeps them focused on the horror of nuclear war. Lucy's story was pretty good. It creates the perfect hook for the show as we follow her hunt for her dad. But now it's time to cover Max's story, which isn't as good as Lucy's, but it's still pretty solid. Max's story is about him training at the Brotherhood of Steel where he was taken as a kid, as he looks up to them for saving him from something. We don't know what that is till later, but it does leave the Max story feeling a bit distant as we don't learn much about Max for a while. But anyway, the Brotherhood are looking for squires, but Max isn't chosen, which he gets pretty pissed about. But the next day, his friend who was chosen as a squire gets his foot ripped apart from razor blades found inside his boot. The elder, Quintus, takes him in for questioning as they believe he put the blades in the boots. This does lead to a good scene where Max denies it, but says should he feel bad that he's glad that it did happen?
I wanted it to happen, is that wrong?
While Quintus doesn't believe him, he still lets Max get the position of squire for Knight Titus, where they are tasked with finding a doctor and a dog in the wastelands. At first, I didn't really like Max's story as it felt a bit bloated with exposition and was also hard to connect with Max, as he felt undefined, but after this episode, his character starts to show more and he becomes the best part of season 1. Overall, Max's story is a bit dull, but it's still pretty solid, especially the interrogation scene. There is one more scene at the end which introduces the Ghoul. The Ghoul is Cooper from the intro as he becomes a bounty hunter in the wasteland. He kills some bounty hunters to welcome up for the same bounty that the Brotherhood of Steel are looking for since they threatened him and mentioned his hometown. The Ghoul is just such a badass and is one of the most complicated characters of the three. I won't go too far in it for now, but I will say Ghoul remains my favorite character throughout the entire show, just followed by Max. This episode was great. Besides the Max story feeling a bit dull, everything else was just perfect. The acting was great, the sets look amazing, I was surprised how good the practical effects were. I do want to go on a tangent on the sets and props which were recreated perfectly from the game, as some shots look like they come straight out of the game. I love that they actually made the power suits real and they didn't resort to CGI. Fire armors look so good here and it makes me wish I can get one, but overall the episode was a great first impression of the show. Hope I can keep this up for the rest of the season. The episode starts with us following the target, which was a doctor who kept a dog which he trained in secret, and he also injected something into his neck. Remember that for later. But he has to escape when his dog gets caught by another scientist, which is the guy getting killed by the same dog. They make their escape into the wasteland as the bounty for him is put up. In this episode we follow Lucy's journey through the wasteland, which includes meeting a weirdo who's trying to use sand in a water filter.
It's meant to be a water filter. No matter how much sand I put in it, I just get more sand.
Well, have you tried water for the water filter?
And find the remains of a family that killed himself before the bombs drop. I really love how they insert these random moments as it recreates the feeling of finding things in the actual game. But back to Lucy, she wakes up to the doctor from the intro where his dog saves her from a ravage. We learn that his name is Wilzeg and that he tells her to go back home and the wasteland isn't meant for a vault dweller. She tells him that she has to find her dad and won't go back till she finds him. Wilzeg says that he understands and goes on his way. After this we follow Lucy as she goes through a street of vendors as she finds a town looks similar to Diamond City in Fallout 4. Before we go any further, let's cover Max's story as both Lucy and Max's story come together at the end. We follow Max as he starts getting treated like shit by his knight who makes him clean his groin armor. He definitely will be an alpha male influencer. Anyways, the knight randomly has him and Max go off exploring while the plane leaves them behind as they find some stuff left by Wilzeg, but they run into a radioactive bear. I cannot pronounce the actual name. The knight runs away like a pussy. See, I told you he was an alpha male influencer. Max kills the bear and saves him, but the knight just makes fun of him and tells him that he's gonna get hanged for not being fast enough. What a prick!
You know what they do to squires that don't do their fucking job? They string you up.
Due to this, Max lets him die as he takes the suit, in which I'm completely on Max's side. Fuck that guy. Max plans to find Wilzeg and take him to the Brotherhood of Steel so they will knight him fully. He then proceeds to fuck around with the suit. I want to take a moment to say that I really like how they implement the songs into this show. They use songs that you listen to in the game and put them in the scenes that matches the tone and the words to the song. They play He's a Man song while Max goes around, which just fits so well. But after this we see Max get involved with a fight between two Wastelander. Max lets the one getting his ass kicked go, just to find out afterwards that the guy was fucking the other guy's chicken.
The guy was fucking my chickens.
Okay. On your way, citizen.
This is one of my favorite parts of the season. I love dumb shit like this, but now we got caught up with Max stuff, let's get back to Lucy. She asks the shopkeeper about Moldaver, but the shopkeeper shuts her down and tells her to go home. Lucy walks out to meet Wilzeg, who wants to use the shopkeeper's services to get to Moldaver, who wants the device in his neck. This is when we find out the goo is here and ready to take Wilzeg in as he shoots his leg out. This leads to a great shootout with the goo where he takes on the entire town by himself. It's a very fun scene that gets even greater when Max shows to take on the goo, where the goo says this great line.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
As the goo and Max fight, the shopkeeper takes his time to give Wilzeg a new leg, which is pretty gruely to see. and tasks Lucy with getting him to Moldaver, as if she wants to get to her, bringing Will's leg is the best way to do that. We then watch Max get his ass kicked as he just sucks using the power armor. The episode then ends with Lucy having to cut Will's leg's head off as he dies from blood loss and takes a cyanide pill.
We're going to get across that wasteland. And we're gonna do it together.
You see, I've just taken a cyanide pill.
He tells her that all Moldaver wants is what's inside his neck. The episode then ends with the goo tracking Lucy while taking the dog from the doctor for himself as a companion. This episode was just so fucking good. It was honestly better than the first, as it gives Max more character development as you wonder if he's going to be a good person or not, as he tries to deal with the darker side of him that we will see more of later. But now the characters have a common goal, it's time to see if the show can keep up the quality. This one is structured a bit weird, so I'm just going to try to focus on one character at a time, so things don't get too confusing, but these storylines do start to combine with each other, which will make it hard to talk about without doing a they didn't do this and then they do this. I'll do my best to keep it simple. Let's start with Lucy as she continues on her journey to Moldaver. She runs into a hiccup when a gopher attacks her and takes the head, but before she can make a plan, she's knocked out by the ghoul and is used as bait for the gopher. I really like the dynamic between the two. They work great together as the ghoul shows her the brutal reality of the wastelands, but also reminds her that he used to be like her. But just makes it better when she fights back against him, proving her wrong about having to be a piece of shit. It's a great dynamic that the show explores a lot, but to get back into the story, while Lucy is struggling, she knocks the ghoul's drugs out of his hand and breaks them, which is a problem since he needs those drugs to prevent himself from turning into an actual feral ghoul. So now he takes Lucy along with him to look for more drugs while saying,
Yeah, well, the wasteland's got its own golden rule. Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
I love this line so much, it perfectly sums up what Fall is all about. That's it for Lucy and the ghoul, so let's go over to Max now, which follows him repairing his power armor as Rare comes and kicks his ass, leads the suit to crush on their skull, which is pretty gnarly. After this, the ray on the power armor turns on, which connects to the Brotherhood of Steel, and they summon Squire after he lies that his own Squire died. The new Squire, Thaddeus, shows up and starts helping, but Max fucking starts to treat him like Knight Titus did.
And clean this.
Of course. Knight Titus.
I can't believe my ghoul will fall into such behavior, shaking my head. Anyways, they continue their journey as Max learns more about Thaddeus. Turns out, Thaddeus was the one that organized a lot of the beatings on Max, but he always wanted Max to go and be someone else. It was a decent moment between the two. Anyways, the two make it to the Gopher spot and struggle to take on the Gopher, which I do want to say they look so cool on camera. After they choke out the Gopher, it spells out the head, and then they all celebrate like boys. This was a fun side plot, as it was fun to watch Mac act like a dick, but slowly warm up with Thaddeus and build a bond between the two. But we still have more to cover as the show starts to focus on Lucy's brother, Norm, who was put on duty of taking care of the rares that were still alive. Norm clearly fucking hates him and suggests to the council that he should just kill them, but they decline as they say they should focus on rehabilitating him. And also their water trip is broken, but this won't get brung up till next season. That's it for this episode, but they'll keep jumping back to this plot every once in a while. But there is still more to cover as we see a scene of Cooper in the pre-war era acting in a movie. Till his wife brings him a present that we find out that in the end of the episode that it's a vault jumpsuit, and he's also was the main guy for their advertisement, and was also the one to do the thumbs up that the mascot's always doing. This is once again something that will be coming back up multiple times throughout the show. This is my only big issue with the show, which is that it tries to juggle so many storylines that does get a bit tiring. Little did I know, this small nitpick will become a bit of a problem in the next season, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Overall, this episode was pretty good. It did get a bit slow at times, but the episode will quickly pick back up when they started getting noticeable. We'll just get right into the next one. This one's a bit more simple. It just follows Lucy and Goo's story and also jumps to Norm's storyline. Let's focus on Lucy and the Goo for now. We watch him find an old friend of the Goo who's starting to change to a pharaoh. As the Goo is distracting him, he suddenly kills him. He did it for food so he can eat the guy, which disgusts Lucy. Most of this episode focuses on Goo trying to break Lucy. This is by forcing her to drink radioactive water and even cutting off her finger to match his. I really do like how they hammer into the idea that the Goo used to be like her. It's the theme of the show on how the wasteland changes you as a person. They actually go into this a bit more in the second season, so I'll wait to talk about this more later. But anyways, the Goo takes her to the super duper market where it's being used as a place for organ harvesting.
I thought I was here to be a sex slave.
What? No! What a disgusting idea! I'm simply going to harvest your organs.
Huh?
The Goo sells her to them for drugs, but as he waits, he passes out on the ground. We see Lucy fight against a Mr. Hand looks so fucking good. Lucy takes him out with a defibrillator and forces the traders to release the ghouls. I fucking love these guys. It was just so fun to watch them give zero shits about anything.
Do as I say and Snip Snip doesn't get hurt.
It's a fucking robot.
But it doesn't end well for him as Lucy forces him to release the Pharaoh ghost as well, since one of the reminder of her mother that I forgot to mention that she died when she was a child. But due to this, the ghouls escape and kill the traders, and Lucy is forced to shoot the Martha girl as she watches her fully change. This was a great story for Lucy as we watch her naive self die so she could survive in the wasteland and be able to find her dad. I especially like the end where even though the goose screwed her over, she still gives him the drugs, proving to him that she will never be like him. As she leaves him, the goose stumbles into the market and gets high off drugs as he watches one of his own movies. This will set up the Cooper storyline that we won't get into till the 6th episode. But let's go to Norm now, who continues to take care of the Raiders, but is warned by Betty that he needs to tread carefully about spreading the idea of killing the Raiders. This was a weird line as I don't think they really go back to this, as Norm's storyline focuses on something else entirely. It is revealed to him by one of the Raiders that Vault 32 residents were already dead before the Raiders even showed up. But before we can go into that, I guess I gotta bring up Steph, one of the girls whose husband died, goes to Chet and starts to hit him till her fucking water breaks and she gives birth. I don't even know what to say about that. But to get back onto the story, Norman and Chet investigate Vault 32, which looks like a revolution happened. Like how this mystery is left in the back for now, as I'll explain this in a bit, but what you need to know is that Norman discovered that his mom's Pip-Boy was used to open Vault 32. We'll get into it in the next episode, but while I do like this subplot, it does keep cutting away too many times. That makes it difficult to keep up with it. But even then, this was still a good episode. I'm very surprised how they keep the quality consistent. Let's hope that this continues for the rest of the season. I just want to say something before we start this episode, and that I really find it weird that they call this episode The Past. I think that would mean to go over Cooper and his storyline, but no, that's not until the next episode. That's it though, I just wanted to mention that. The episode starts with Max and Thaddeus bonding after they get the head. This leads to Max wanting to tell the truth that he's in fact Max, but Thaddeus doesn't take it well and plans to tell the Brotherhood of Steel. Max tries to stop him as he crushes his foot and plans to kill him, but Thaddeus shuts his suit down and leaves him behind. Lucky for Max, Lizzie comes along and they agree to help each other as Max will give her right away if she lets him out. She helps him and he goes and heals her radiation poisoning. They plan to go and find a head and bring it to the Brotherhood of Steel so she can ask for help with finding her father. Team up together for the rest of the show and they work fine together. It's not as strong as Lucy and Ghouls relationship, but this team does lead to some funny moments. Not much else really happens for the rest of the episode besides that when they cross the walkway, they have to try to be peaceful with another group, but still have to kill them when they try to drive the guns on them. But turns out they were cannibals, so it's all good. Besides that, they go to Shady Sands where it turned out someone tried to restart civilization, but it failed as someone blew it up. This is also the birthplace of Max that we won't go into for a while. The episode ends with getting knocked out as they look for medicine as Max is losing blood from getting shot on that bridge. This shit was honestly pretty boring, but to be fair, all their scenes were still fun to watch. It just felt like they didn't get much done in this episode. But let's now get back to Norm, who discovered that the residents are trying to get into Vault 31, but don't get a chance to investigate as they return to Vault 33 to avoid raising suspicions. This leads to the Vault having an election, which did have some funny moments.
And Betty's already been overseer once. I'm gonna vote for Betty. I got that impression.
Betty will be the one to win the position of overseer and plans to get Body 32 back up and running, where they all go into there to find a place to clean and the body's missing. This never gets brought back up again, but I honestly like it that way as it really builds up the mystery of what happened there. The last scene shows Norm asking Betty about what happened to his mother's Pip-Boy, where Betty lied and said that she buried it with his mom, which is a bold-faced lie, but I'll explain that more when we get to it. This episode was sadly the worst one yet, but mostly because nothing really happens in this episode. But even then, it's not like this episode's even that bad. Shit, it wasn't even mediocre. It was still a good time. Let's hope the show picks up now. This episode is the one to focus on Cooper and his backstory, but for now, let's focus on Lucy and Max. Lucy and Max expect to realize that they've been taken in by a vault that takes in people from the surface. They're forced to stay here until they're fully healed up, but this leads to a funny exchange between Lucy and Max about having sex.
You wanna have sex?
You mean use my cock?
Yeah.
But things don't seem right as most residents have some weird deformity, and even the overseer is a bit weird of having one eye and one that he can't treat the wasteland as rude.
But it's like you can't make a funny joke about it without offending these guys. I mean, one funny joke I told on maybe 10 occasions.
What was the joke?
I forget. All I know is it was a huge bomb.
And shuts the conversation down when she mentions floor 12. The guy is played by the same actor that voices Jerry from Rick and Morty, and it's basically him just playing Jerry. This was my favorite part of the episode. This leads to another great line by Max starting to fall into the vault life.
Check this out. These are called oysters. You want one? They make you feel so good. You want to make my cock explode now? What? Sorry, intercourse?
This was the first line that I heard from the show when it got popular and was one of the main reasons I wanted to see this show. I do also want to bring out that some Wastelanders do some sort of cult ritual which is pretty weird and never fully explained. They just really need to go weird for a sec. But anyways, Lucy goes to floor 12, where she discovers that the Gopers were made here by experimenting on pregnant women. Before Lucy can learn more, she gets captured by the doctors. This was a pretty fun episode idea. I was really interested to see what was going to happen next. I especially like the comedies, which was just perfect. The episode even ends on Max eating popcorn as Lucy gets captured. Also, while this is happening, Goo got captured by the government, which is really only there so the Goo could take interest in Moldaver. That's really it. But let's go on to the main event, which is Cooper's backstory. It starts with Cooper at a rap party, and the only friend that showed up was the voice actor for Mr. Handy. They talk about Vault-Tec and how the end of the world is a product. This will be explored in a bit, but to get back to the story, this leads to Cooper getting more suspicious about Vault-Tec, which isn't helping as his wife Barb works to the top for Vault-Tec. She even slipped up during an argument that she wants to make sure they get into a good vault. This ultimately leads to Cooper going to a meeting about how Vault-Tec is going to bring the end of the world. That's it for this episode. They will go into this more in the next episode. Overall, this episode was much better than last, and while it was mostly by the comedy and Cooper's backstory, it was still a fun time. Let's just jump into the next episode. Alright, this episode's gonna be a little bit more complicated as it includes so many different plot lines, so do my best to organize them. Let's start with Goo, who interrogates a family that was meant to take Will's egg to Moldaver. He terrorizes them till they give the location of her. After this, he goes on his way where he meets a dog again, which was abandoned by Thaddeus, which, speaking of which, let's cover him now. Thaddeus is still on his own with the head as he deals with his messed up foot and a dog that keeps following him. He eventually puts the dog in a cooler, what a dick, but it's fine because the Goo gets the dog back anyways. But we watch as Thaddeus gets help from a crazy doctor that was seconds away from shooting himself. It was really fucking dark. Let's now jump over to Norm, where the rares that were kept prisoner were all poisoned, which is the people getting sent to Vault 32, which Norm calls Shut a coward for not being concerned about anything. But it doesn't matter, that's a good chunk of them moved to Vault 32 without any struggle, as Steph gets chosen for Overseer. That's it, so let's go over Cooper's story now. Which reveals that Moldaver was alive back then and was leader of the club that was against Vault-Tec. She tells him that she used to work for his wife on a project that she worked on called Cold Fusion, but the project will suddenly get shelved. She gives him a listening device so he can spy on his wife, which at first he hates the idea, but he does end up putting on her Pip-Boy in the end. I do want to take a second to express my feelings for Cooper's storyline, which, while I do like it a lot, it does feel a bit scattered all over the place. As it is so the story won't get spoiled, but it does lead to the pacing of the show getting messed up as we randomly cut to Cooper. That can interrupt over other scenes. It didn't ruin anything though, but it did get very tiring to go back and forth between all these storylines. Little did I know that this would come back to become a massive problem, but like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's finally cover Lucy now. After she was put under arrest for getting caught on floor 12, it turns out it was the original resident that did all the experiments. But now the Vault doesn't do that anymore, and she just threw acid on an innocent person in the last episode. This leads to her getting kicked out of the Vault, which would make it look like a fucking execution. But anyways, Lucy asks if Max can stay, as he seems to enjoy the place. But he shows up and creates a scene, thinking he had to save Lucy, so he gets kicked out as well. I do want to say that while I did find this story a bit fun and stupid, it did feel pretty pointless at the end of the day, but luckily it was still fun to watch. This leads to Max finally telling her the truth about who he is and what he did, where she has a good response to it.
I just threw acid in an innocent man's face. And I've only been up here 2 weeks.
I'm glad they didn't go down the whole you lie plot and just had her not care about it, because they have done so much worse things at this point. After this, they meet Thaddeus at the radio tower, which it turns out he called for the Brotherhood of Steel, but he has to quickly leave as an arrow goes for his throat, but he's fine, as the doctor from before turned him into a ghoul. He gives him the head as he has to leave now since the Brotherhood of Steel kills ghouls. This leads to Max giving her the head and tells her to go to Moldaver. He plans to use a fake head to throw the Brotherhood of Steel off. This leads to the last scene where Norm contacts Vault 31's Overseer so he can meet them, which they ask for him to come in immediately. And that's it. This is a lot to go through, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. I just felt like this episode was just setting up the finale. Speaking of the finale, let's get right into it. We start with Max getting taken to the Brotherhood of Steel where they plan to kill him after they find out that he lied. Till his friend from the beginning tells him that he was the one who put the blades in his own boots because he was afraid of going out in the wasteland. This leads to letting Max go as he tells him where the head is at now. Let's go over to Cooper as he sits in one of the offices at Vault-Tec as he spies on his wife, where it's revealed that Vault-Tec will be the ones to drop the bomb.
By dropping the bomb ourselves.
Now, they will go back on this in the next season, but I really did like this reveal, as it's pretty believable that a corporation would do this. I don't find it impossible that a company will find any way to profit out of people, even if it means killing a bunch of people or even ending the world. This leaves him shocked as someone walks to greet him, but we'll get into that in a second. Let's go back to Norm. Norm goes to Vault 31 where he meets a weird brain robot that used to be one of the members of the board. They try to stop him, but the robot is just basically a fucking Roomba. But it does lead to Norm discovering what's inside Vault 31, but like before, we'll get to that in a second. Let's finally focus on Lucy. She makes it to Moldaver where she finds her father in a cage and a ghoul tied to a table. Moldaver finally reveals what's been going on, so it turns out that her dad was actually a boomer that met with Cooper after he found out his wife's secret, as he and the rest of the boys were sleeping in cryopods in Vault 31, which is what Norm discovers before being locked in there. Still with me? Because it's also that Hank was the one that destroys Shady Sands. but also that Lucy's mother was there when the bombs dropped, so the goo that's tied to the table is actually Lucy's mother, which is how the rares got into the vault at the beginning of the show. Dear God, this is such a great reveal, and honestly ties everything together pretty well. But we're not done yet, as that code fusion core has been passed all around the place. Is simply a core with limitless energy, and Motivator wants to use it to power up the wasteland. While the reveal is great, the show does try to make her look like a good person, but doesn't really work when she was built up as a threat and was responsible for massacring a bunch of people at the vault. They never try to mention this, which does suck, but hey, it's really the only big problem with the show so far. As this is going on, the Brotherhood of Steel shows up and starts attacking the base, as Max is going in there to save Lucy. The goo is also there as well and joins the fight. This entire action scene was just so fucking cool, and it was a great way for the show to go out. But let's finish this episode up. Max shows up and frees Hank, but when Max looks away, Hank knocks Max out. This leads to Lucy keeping Hank at gunpoint as she considered killing him before she gets interrupted by the goo, who asks where his family is at.
Where's my fucking family?
But this leads to Hank escaping. This then leads to Goo and Lucy joining up so they can hunt down Hank, especially as the goo wants to know who's in control of everything.
But there's always somebody behind the wheel. And that's who I want to talk to.
The episode ends with Moldiver telling Max to go against the Brotherhood of Steel. She then dies, and then everyone believes that he killed her. The season ends with a teaser of Hank walking towards New Vegas. And that's it for the season, and while yes, it was a lot, this was a great finale that ties everything together pretty well, but still leaves some questions and answers, so there could still be a mystery for the next season. It was the perfect finale. Overall though, the season was generally perfect. Any issue I have with the show was just basically nitpicking. It's a great achievement that a video game adaptation could be this good, but even better that it's this good since they created their own story and it's only use elements from the game. It's just a good show. I wouldn't go and say the show was amazing and will change your life. It's just simply a fun watch. Even if you have never played Fallout, the show is still written well enough that you don't even need to play the games to enjoy the show. So yeah, I think that Fallout Season 1 is the best video game adaptation, probably followed by The Last of Us Season 1. But now it's time to cover the second season, which from what I've heard, is not as good as Season 1. Some would even call it a bad season. So when this season came out, people were excited for it, but slowly I started to hear some people's hate for the show. Now to be fair, most of the hate was coming from hardcore New Vegas fans, but I even heard from some regular fans that the show was fine, nothing that special. But even while hearing all of this, I still wanted to give the second season a chance. I mean, the first season was just so good that I wanted to believe the second season was good as well. So I went and watched the second season, and yeah, it wasn't as good as the first season. Not to say that season 2 is all bad, it has some great scenes. There are even some scenes in the season that surpass some of the scenes from the first season. But the structure of season 2 is just so completely fucked. It would take these great scenes and would either cut them in half or we will cut back to a scene where they would just show up at the end of it. It turns out season 2 a goddamn chore to watch. If I wasn't writing notes, I would have got confused so quickly. While I would like to break the season apart to explain my issues with it, it'd be better just to go for the entire show. I won't be dividing the plot lines from each other, I'll just go over them the way they were showed up in the show. So let's get started. So I'm just gonna go over these episodes with no stop so you get the experience of watching season 2. We start with Mr. House, the ruler of New Vegas. We see him piss some people off, which he then lures them outside so he can test out his mind control device on them. He makes the one guy kill his friend, and when the other guy turns on him, House fucking blows his head off with the device. The intro is fine, no one near as good as the first season, but it was pretty interesting. We cut to Goo, who's getting hanged by a bunch of rares while Lucy watches with a rifle. She, for some reason, tries to avoid conflict and lets the Goo hang as she talks to them.
His idea, by the way, was for me to turn him over to you so that you would open up your safe and give me the considerable bounty you put out on him. Fucking shoot!
It's probably the only time she acts like this, which I'm happy about because I was starting to get a little worried because she got a bit of flat in her eyes here, but hey, she's back to normal for the rest of the show. This does lead to a pretty cool shootout, so it's a bit forgivable. After that, they continue their journey through the wasteland to New Vegas. The Goo tells Lucy that Vegas is mostly untouched due to the fact that House created defenses to prevent the bombs from destroying Vegas. We then cut to Cooper as he gets his daughter and drives from his home, and as he's driving, the air sirens go off for testing, but people don't know it's a test, so they all start to panic and freak out. And as this all is going on, we watch as Cooper looks at a billboard that shows it promoting Vault-Tec. This scene was really good. Honestly, the Cooper storyline was the strongest part of the season. We then cut back to the vault where Vault 33 is still dealing with the broken water chip, and we also watch Chet get forced to taking care of Steph's baby.
Chet Jr. was my father's name. It's a sort of a personal area for me, having watched him die of starvation in the Weevil famine.
This storyline was kinda stupid, but hey, it was pretty funny. We then cut back to Norm as he starts to starve, as the brain robot won't let him leave. They actually make the robot a bit threatening, which is kinda surprising. We then cut back to Lucy and Goo as they ask for info from a shopkeeper for a flea suit.
What happened to the
This leads to the ghoul asking Lucy what she plans to do when she finds her dad. She tells him that she plans to take him back to Vault 33 for justice. We then cut back to Cooper as he talks to the Mulder on what to do. She tells him to play nice with his wife so he can go over to Lucky 38 so he can get to House, who has the bombs that the Vault-Tec wants to use to start the nuclear war. Now, we won't get told what he's supposed to do to House for now, but we'll get told later. We then cut back to Lucy and Goo as they go into the abandoned vault. We then cut back to one of the council members creating a club for incest.
But that doesn't mean those of us who are products of inbreeding need to feel bad. You understand?
Yeah, they bring us up a lot throughout the show. We then cut to Norm, who's like either get into a cryopod or he gets stung by a poison needle the robot has.
It kills you, quick and painless. Your body will rapidly decompose, turning into a dust that will get circulated through the ventilation system, ultimately making its way into your cornfields back home. Not so bad if you think about it.
When Norm says fuck dang, hacks to the console to wake everyone up. We then cut back to Lucy and the Goo investigating the abandoned vault where they find Americans that have that microchip in the back of their neck that was turning them into communists. A bit creepy, but we cut once again to Hank as he makes his way to New Vegas Vault where he continues House's research. And that's it for episode 1. I think you guys are starting to understand when I say the show has a structure problem, and letting you know it's going to get a lot worse from here, but we'll set up for the end. Let's get into episode 2. The episode starts with Max past and we see how Shady Sands got destroyed by a guy with Microtrol bringing an atom bomb to town while spouting,
"Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter."
It was pretty creepy, but fun fact, the line he was saying over and over was the line that NPC New Vegas kept spouting. Also, I didn't play New Vegas that much, so don't be surprised if I don't pick up on all the references. But anyways, we watch as Max's family put Max to a first to fight the blast, as his dad tells him to be a good man.
You are a good boy, and one day you will be a good man.
This intro was great, and honestly should have been the intro for the first episode. I also like how it cuts to Hank at the end running to Lucy when she was a kid, as we see his Pip-Boy say that she's successful. It honestly gave me some chills. But we then cut to Max killing some ghouls that we see him get some equipment, so the chapter of the Brotherhood Steel could settle in the Area 51 for a new base. Before we can get deep into that, we cut back to Lucy and Goo checking out the hospital as they hear some screams coming from there. They find 2 people who are wounded, but fucking Goo kills the dude and eats his flesh, but he spits it out as it's poison flesh, which reveals that they stumble into a rat scorpion nest. Goo's a bit of a bastard as he tries to use the girl as a barrier to protect himself from the stinger, but he still gets stabbed anyways. After this, Lucy heals the girl as she calls the Goo a piece of shit, and we'll cut back for him later. I'm with Lucy, the guy was fucking acting up here. We then cut back to Norm as he tries to organize everyone who woke up, but they start to panic and freak out when they get told that they're trapped. We then cut to Hank testing the mind control device on some rats. We then cut back to the Brotherhood of Steel. We're going to be jumping back and forth a lot. We watch them explore the base and fuck around. I like this one joke where they get excited about a clear box, not the alien on the inside.
A real fucking icebox.
They use the Kill Fusion core to power the base, but we'll get into the Kill Fusion more in a sec, as we cut to Max talking to his squire. Max is upset about Lucy leaving him, but doesn't have time to worry about that as the Elder Quintus fights all the other chapters Elder to discuss starting a civil war with the Commonwealth. They want to keep the Kill Fusion core for himself, but this will go against the Commonwealth. They argue about it for a bit, but we cut back to Lucy and the girl as they walk to her camp, where she gets warned to go home so she get raped by the wrong people.
I will bear that in mind.
Okay, we cut back to Norm who's able to calm everyone down and start making a plan to escape. We then cut back to Hank starting to test on some humans, but he does this by saying that the guy who he's doing it on doesn't care about his family. It's kinda creepy. But no time for that as we cut to Lucy getting captured by the Legion. But no time for that as we cut back to Norm as they manage to find a way to escape and get to the surface. It was kinda beautiful. We cut back to Max again as we see him get forced into a fight with a bigger knight. The knight brings a knife to the fight as he plans to kill Max, but Max kills him with his old knife like a fucking badass. But suddenly a guy from the Commonwealth shows up and his name is Xander, and he announces Max killing the guy. That was episode 2. This is just the beginning of this mess. This episode is probably my least favorite episode of the show, and as it's the most boring fucking episode in the show yet. This is also when I realized that the rough structure of the first episode was just a rough start to the season, but it's gonna be a problem for the rest of the show. Let's get into it. We start with Thaddeus as he's taking the kids from the wasteland as they all work in a factory that takes capsule bottles. This is probably my favorite part of this episode. I just love this little subplot. We cut to Lucy getting taken to the Legion camp as we watch them kill that one girl, but we get revealed that one of the commanders is fucking Ian McCulkin from Home Alone. But Sally doesn't really get to do anything, she just kinda stands there and talks. It's a bit of a waste. After they make an incest joke,
and that's not including all of the cousin stuff I did, which is at least a page or 2 on my resume. So, looks like we're out of options.
Lucy gets put up on a cross and left there. We then cut back to Goo who's struggling to survive with the poison, so he goes and rips that fucking truck right out of him. It was pretty fucking gnarly, and felt like a good way to show that Goo trying to cut out the shitty part of himself out. We then cut to Cooper as he goes to a weather event since he was a veteran for the Anchorage battle, and for context, this is a fictional battle in the fallen universe against the Chinese, as this battle is what will lead to the rising nuclear tension. But anyways, he meets House in the bathroom who's there for some reason, and that conversation goes nowhere. He just tells Cooper he'll meet him again. We then cut to Elder Quintus who keeps pushing the other chaps to join him in starting a civil war. They worry about Alexander, and Max just tells them he should just kill him, but they tell him no. Max goes and fucks off, but Xander asks him to join him on a ride. We cut back over to Ghoul who finds Lucy on the cross. He goes to the New California Republic base for help but finds it empty except for the one New Vegas robot. Turns out the NCR disappeared, but there are some rangers on a hill, so the goo makes its way over there. We then cut back to Max and Xander. Xander tells him that if Max gives him the Cold Fusion Core, they can prevent this civil war from happening. Max considers as he starts to bomb Xander, and after they pick up a signal from a robot, they decide to go check it out. We cut back over to Goo as he meets up with the Rangers. They ask for his help since they've been abandoned and they are ready to call for backup, but Goo tells them no and fucks off. We then cut back over to Max and Xander again as they fight the New Vegas robots, which fucking finally something cool is happening. Well, we can't have that much fun as we cut back to Lucy who's fighting off crows, but we see that the goo has shown up to save Lucy by giving the NCR location to them. But as they leave, he sparks a fuse on a bomb that leads to the Legion finding each other. This was a really good scene that shows some character for the goo, but is constantly being interrupted by a speech from Cooper's friend on how Cooper is a good person, even if he tries to hide it. It just feels pointless at this point because we're already watching a scene that shows that the goo cares for Lucy. I don't need to be spoon-fed about how the goo is a good person. As we see him save Lucy, also takes away from the fact that he screws over the NCR. He reflects on it as he leaves, but they never bring this up again. Buzz finishes up as we watch Max and Xander find Thaddeus and the kids, but Xander wants to kill the goo kid since he's required to do so by the Brotherhood of Steel, in which Max kills Xander to prevent that from happening. But now that's means that Max has basically started the Civil War.
What you been up to?
I think I just started a war.
This final scene was actually pretty good. Sucks that we had to get for a bunch of boring expositions to get there, but hopefully the episode will start picking up now. This one starts with us seeing Cooper in the Anchorage battle as he's on the ground and is about to be killed by Chinese since the suit locked up, where we see a Deathclaw show up and kill the soldiers. But it leaves Cooper alone and then he gets a call saying the war is over. I'm not gonna lie, I never knew that Deathclaws were even in the pre-war era, or even the fact that I was using the Anchorage battle, but let's continue on as we cut over to Max and Thaddeus again. Max tells them to wear Xander's suit so they can prevent the war for the time being, but the only problem is that Thaddeus sucks at using the power armor.
Where's Xander Harkness? Ow! What the hell? Oh! What? Okay. Okay. Ow!
We cut back to Lucy and Goo as we see the NCR heal Lucy while she sleeps. They get a weapon and send them off on their way. We then cut back over to Vault 33 as they continue to deal with the broken water chip as the NSF Club starts to get more popular, which is taking a lot of supplies from the vault. We cut back over to Lucy as she has now become addicted to drugs.
Well, then I hereby quit drugs. There. What you got there? Oh gosh, I didn't take him still addicted to drugs. What do I do?
As they see New Vegas in the distance, Lucy says she can't deal with the withdrawal, so Goo just aids her addiction.
Stopping my dad from doing whatever he's doing is for the greater good, so even though I want it, I'm mostly doing it for other people, so that's what I'd want others to do for me. So give me the drugs.
It almost feels like the first season again, but we cut back to Max as the Squire finds out that he kills Xander, and when he asks Max how he's going to deal with this, Max tells the Squire he plans to kill the other Quintus and asks the Squire to steal the Cold Fusion Core for him, in which the Squire agrees. We then cover to Betty and Steph talking about how they found out that Vault 31's abandoned, and that Steph wants Hank's lockbox in exchange for giving Betty a supply of water. Betty denies it for now, but we see that one of the council members, Woody, overhears the two as he walks away. We cut back over to Lucy and Goo as they finally make it in New Vegas, where Lucy, who is high on drugs, goes all out on a bunch of ghouls.
And stuck that love 44 beneath.
She mimics the shot from the New Vegas intro. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. I wish this season would have more stuff like this. We now cut back to Max. He's getting ready to kill Quintus, but he tries to give him a chance by explaining why he had to kill Xander. But Quintus is on Xander's side, saying that it's their job to kill ghouls. This leads to the two fighting, but Max fails to kill him, so he locks him in the room. Meanwhile, we watch as Thaddeus is surrounded by the chapter leader as they talk to him about making a deal, but they end up fighting each other, which leads to a giant shootout. I actually like this scene a lot, as we see Thaddeus panic as the situation gets worse.
I think I'm having a panic attack.
What the fuck's a panic attack?
We see Max's Squire steal the core and give it to Max. He tells him to run. We watch as the base falls to the complete civil war as we see Max and Thaddeus escape. This shot was pretty cool. This was just such a great way to end the episode. Psych, we still have more to go over. We cut back to Woody going to set the reporter. This thing was actually pretty funny.
Thank you for reporting this, Woody. You have followed protocol to the letter.
Okay, yeah, because I've never had to report a violation to
the person who committed it before?
But the episode ends with Lucy and Goo encountering a death claw in the strips, and I do want to say that these death claws look fucking sick. But that's it for this episode. I'm just going to quickly go for the rest of these episodes, so let's go on to the next one. Let's jump right into this. We watch Lucy and Goo run and try to survive as multiple Deathclaws show up. They escape through a guarded fence where the actual residents live now. Damn, I wish we could've got to see more of them, but I get it. Those two would have been torn to shreds if they stayed any longer. The Goo explains to Lucy that he believes that his family is inside the New Vegas vault that is inside the strip where Deathclaws are at. But for now, he gives her money to buy an Addictol to flush out her drugs as he goes and drinks. We then cut to Cooper as he arrives in Las Vegas and goes to Lucky 38. I will stop and say that the set design for Lucky 38 is basically perfect. It looks stunning, and you can tell he made an effort to make them look exactly like the game. But to get back onto the story, we learned that they were wanting to stop the deal between House and Vault-Tec. The deal is House gets the cold fusion core while Vault-Tec gets the bombs. Mulder wants Cooper to kill House, but Cooper tells her that he'll find another way. But before Cooper can do anything, he gets called into House's office where House reveals that he knew that Cooper came to kill him, but for some reason we cut over to the doctor from last season, as he plans to have a day of a robot. But Hank shows up and kidnaps him and puts a mind control device on it, which actually works and doesn't blow his head off. But no time for that, we cut to Norm as his crew makes it to the Vault-Tec building where they meet the shopkeeper from the first season. She tells him that Lucy is dead and that they should go home, but Norm doesn't believe her. But she lets him stay and just tells him to stay away from Roach Farm. We then cut back over to Lucy as she goes to buy a Addictol, but the price has been raised, so she goes in and steals it and steals his hammer weapon as well. But that's when she finds a body in the trash can and she looks over to find that someone clearly killed the shopkeeper and took his place. He suddenly goes to kill her, but she kills him first, which makes her realize how much she's changed.
Who are you? I don't know.
I actually like this a lot, but they really don't go into it that much. But wait, we don't got time for that as we jump back over to Cooper and House that was like 20 minutes ago. So basically, House tells Cooper that the bombs were meant to drop on Cooper's daughter's birthday, but for some reason the date was pushed back a month, which it happened when Cooper showed up at Lucky 38. This leads to House telling Cooper that neither he or Vault-Tec will drop the bombs. It will be someone else. Not going to lie, I really don't like this twist. Sure, it does match up with the lore of the games, as the Enclave will be the ones to drop the bombs, but I still think it takes away from the initial themes of how companies will find a way to prop on the downfall of humanity to the point that they would do it themselves. It kind of sucks, especially when we get another twist that ruins the original twist even more, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, so let's jump back into it. We now cut back over to Norm as the group tries to contact the investors. Norm goes and comforts one of the girls named Claudia who's still dealing with the ramification of nuclear war. It was actually a pretty good scene, but it leads to the asshole of the group finding out Norm lied to them, and as Norm finds out about the FEV virus, the sort of mutant virus, he proceeds to get knocked out by the asshole. We then cut back to Lucy who just healed her addiction, which leads to some gross results. But when she meets up with Goo at the hotel, it's revealed that the doctor, who is now mind control, tasks Goo with taking Lucy back to Vault 33. And if he does this, Hank will guarantee safety to his family. This then leads to the Goo drugging Lucy as it reveals that he planned this from the start. But Lucy fucking knocks Goo out the window and onto a pike like a badass before passing out on the ground. This scene is also interlaced with Cooper's breakdown scene as we watch her fall into a drunken state as he realizes that he can't stop the bombs. This is an amazing scene with great acting and camera work, but this feels weird. This feels like a scene that should have been in the episode right before the finale. They won't just stretch Lucy's finale into 3-hour-long episodes, will they? Yeah, they do exactly that. So I hope you're ready as the structure issues are about to get a whole lot worse, so hope you've been taking notes cause here we go. We start with Barb getting shown ways on how they can profit off nuclear war from Vault-Tec. Before House comes in and shows her the mind control device, we can see that she's clearly unnerved by it as we get a hint that she may be against Vault-Tec. I really hope they don't try to redeem her. We cover the Goo as having a bad time on the pike as he can't reach his medicine and starting to turn. This leads to a scene that shows Cooper finally confronting his wife about everything. But psych, we suddenly cut to Lucy as she wakes up in the New Vegas vault where she finds a bunch of people getting mind controlled. She finds her father and puts him under arrest, but he surrenders willingly. That's kinda strange, but no time for that. We cut to Max and Thaddeus as Thaddeus talks about selling the cold fusion core. Cause you know, that's really what I want to see right now, but who cares as we jump back to Goo as we see him try to pull himself off the pike, but he fails. This was also a pretty good scene, but we see a big figure come over and save Goo, but let's put a pin in that for now. As we cut over to the Incest Club where we watch the performance of the club as they dance to Uranium Fever. You know, if I didn't find this scene very funny and well executed, I'll be so much more pissed, because, you know, of everything happening, we just happen to see what's going on with the Incest Club. We call over to Chad as he finds out that Steph is forcing him to marry her. I really don't care. This subplot feels so underdeveloped that I just want to focus on whatever Lucy or Goo are doing right now. We cut back to Goo, where we see that Asurimu is the one to save Goo, which was paid by Ron fucking Perlman, the fallen narrator. He asks for the Goo's help to fight against the Enclave, but Goo says no, so the man's like fuck you and knocks him out. You still with me? Cause we're finally coming back to Cooper and Barb as they finish up arguing? Why the fuck didn't we just get the whole scene? Just whatever. This is where we learned that Barb wanted to investigate the cold fusion, but was warned by Wilczek to not do that, and it actually is the one to give her the idea about dropping the bombs. I really don't like this twist at all, cause it takes all the horrible shit that Barbara said and tries to redeem her and explain why she said all of it. You could just let her be a villain. But anyways, Cooper still hates her, but he does want to try to help her. We finally cut back to Lucy as she tells Hank to let the mind control people go, but he tells her that's irreversible. This leads to a scene where Hank lets Lucy decide if the two violent Legion members should get mind control. Lucy says no, but because of this they almost kill each other until Lucy tells them to turn it on, and they stop fighting. I really like this scene a lot as it gives Lucy a dilemma about if her dad is actually right by using the mind controls to help the chaos in the wasteland. When we cut back to Cooper and we see him get past Hank drunk as he plans to steal the cold fusion core from him, but he only finds a syringe gun. Barb shows up and extracts the cold fusion core out of Hank's neck. That's it. This was a rough episode, but let's just jump on to the next one. The episode opens with Steph's backstory as she escapes Canada and makes it to America so she can get to the vaults, and shows that she was willing to kill anyone to get there. Don't worry, we'll go over this in a sec, so let's get back on to Lucy as we watch her get conflicted about the idea of using the mind control devices. I honestly like Lucy's story a lot, just sucks that they had to divide us up between 3 episodes. Hank continues to act weird by showing her where she can go to shut down the devices and even teaches her how to drive. I really like this because it keeps you questioning on what Hank's plans actually are, as you can't tell what he's trying to do since he's always encouraging what she wants to do. This leads to Lucy considering using the device on the Legion as they're basically just animals. Shit, even I was starting to get convinced. We cut over to Ghoul as he meets up with Max and Thaddeus and wants to take them to find some weapons that they can be used on the Deathclaws. But the Ghoul confronts with Max and already has the cold fusion core. He tells them that they're gonna need it. We now cut over to Cooper, he meets Steph. She asks him how she can get into the vaults, but Cooper just shuts her down. But we cut back over to the Ghoul as he shows Max and Thaddeus a bunch of weapons that he can use to fight the Deathclaws, but tells them that he needs the cold fusion core and has to give it to House. It's the only way they can save Lucy. I like this scene a lot, but we don't get much time to focus on because we cut over to Norm just to see him get knocked out again as we hear the group talk about what to do with him. So anyways, we cut to... But now we cut back over to Chet who finds Woody's glasses in the garbage disposal. You know what, this scene was kind of intense, and I really wish we had more screen time to flesh these ideas out. Thank God time was wasted on stupid shit. It would have been pretty annoying. We then cut to Betty who's running out of options, she's almost out of water, so she gives in to Steph's demand and gives her Hank's box. We then cut back to Ghoul and Max as they prepare to fight the Deathclaws. The town's even happy to see the brand new NCR suit that Max found. But things aren't too bright as Thaddeus' fucking arms falls off, making him useless.
Dude, maybe you should hang back this time, Thaddeus.
You sure?
Your arm fell off.
We cut to Lucy who put on the dress she saw when she woke up and has dinner with her dad. But when she talks to an NCR ranger who's put under mind control, she cuffs Hank to the oven as she runs out to shut everything down. We then fucking cut back over to Chet who's being forced to marry Steph, but he exposes her on killing Woody, but nobody gives a shit.
Cold feet's normal.
But when he shows them that she was Canadian, they all freak out. Not gonna lie, I found it very funny that this is what everyone get mad at. It felt like something they would have done in the first season. After we watched Steph run into her office, we covered to Max is finding the Deathclaws, which I will admit was fucking sick to watch, but uh-oh, Deathclaws sends Max flying, which leads to the barrier being broken down so now Deathclaws can attack the residents. We then cut back between Cooper, Lucy, and the Ghoul. The Ghoul wakes up House with a cold fusion core, Cooper sells the cold fusion core to the president, Lucy finds out that everything's being powered by a fucking head. Jesus. This was just so much, but I'll wait to complain until we finish the last episode. We're finally on the last episode, so let's just get this done. We start on Legion as they finally stop fighting each other, but the leader dies in the process, and Slash knows that the Legion dies with him, but the Ian McCullen character crumbles the paper up and takes the place of Caesar, as he sends the Legion to take New Vegas. I honestly wish the Legion would have more screen time. Thankfully, he didn't waste time on pointless shit. We cover the good that tells the House that he will leave him on if he helps him find his family in the vault. House agrees and makes him wear a Pip-Boy so they keep talking. We cut back to Max fight the Deathclaw, which is great, but we just have to keep cutting away. We cover Lucy as the head asks for Lucy to kill her. The head is from the one lady that was at Lucky 38 that was protesting against Vault-Tec and House. She was even the one to tell Cooper to give the cold fusion core to the president. Lucy agrees to kill her, but afterwards she says that she's tired of having to kill so many people. This is something that I wish they would have focused on more, but we cut back over to Norm who's about to be killed. Claudia tries to help him, but during the scuffle, they accidentally release the rabbit roaches. This leads to a pretty intense scene as we watch the group try to fend off the roaches, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize that these little bastards were that deadly. They were actually pretty creepy, especially when they were trying to kick Norm out of a room, which leads the roaches breaking in and killing the group. This shit gave me chills. We cut over the Ghoul as he watches him walk into the vault before we cut right back to Max, as he continues to fight the Deathclaws, but we cut back over to Lucy where she gets confronted by Hank for screwing everything up. But we cut to, can we fucking end this scene before we cut please? We cut to Ghoul as House reminds that he was the one to give Enclave the cold fusion core. We then cut back to Cooper as we see that Steph hooked up with Hank to get into the vaults. We watch as Cooper and Barb plan to leave, but suddenly all the phones start to go off. But fuck it, we are now cutting back over to Lucy as Hank attempts to put a mind control device on Lucy so she can become his ideal daughter. But screw attention as we cut again to the Ghoul as he makes it to the vault. We cut again to Max as he continues his fight with the Deathclaws, but he gets some help from Thaddeus. What a Chad. We now cut back to Lucy where Ghoul saves her and gives her the choice of what to do with Hank. We cut back over to Maxie goes to fight the Death Claws without the power suit as it broke down. But the NCR arrives and replicates the New Vegas opening, which was fucking cool. The NCR takes over and kills the rest of the Death Claws. We cut back to Lucy and Hank as they leave the vault, where she puts the mind control device on him to make him an ideal dad. But he tells her there are more people out there getting mind control, and he takes out a remote and wipes the memory of the device. This is a great scene that ends her hunt for her dad on a bittersweet note. But Lucy looks up and sees Max as they finally reunite. Now, this will be a great spot to end the season, but we still have 14 minutes left to go. Let's see what the rest of the episode has to say. We cut back to Steph as she panics as everyone wants to kill her now, so she opens Hank's box, which has a radio inside where she calls the Enclave and tells them to initiate Phase 2. We won't know much more about this till the next season, so let's move on to Norm as we see that Claudia survived the roaches. I was happy about that because I was really starting to like her character. I would've been pissed off if she died right there and then. We watch as Norm drag her out of the Vault Tech building. We cover the goo as House warns that the Enclave is ready to start a fight. We didn't finish Cooper's storyline where he gets arrested for giving the president the confusion, which the president secretly with the Enclave. It ends with Cooper taking the fall for his wife. I really think they should have kept Cooper's stuff for like one episode. We then come back to the goo as he finds his family chiropod empty, but he finds a postcard that says Colorado on it. The goo is actually happy about it since it means that his family is still alive. He leaves House behind as he plans to look for his family in Colorado. The last thing we get is of Max and Lucy getting ready for war between the Legion and the NCR. You also get a post-credit scene where Quintus throws a bitch fit and calls himself Quintus the Destroyer as he pulls out plans for Liberty Prime, which is pretty neat. But we are finally done. Dear fucking God, this was an absolute mess to get through. And honestly, it sucks. I really think we had a good season here. There are so many great moments and scenes that are just ruined by the way the show was edited and structured. While I did have some problems with the story, these small problems were amplified as I felt worn out trying to keep up on what's going on. It also doesn't help that the show would just cut away in the middle of a scene, which got so annoying as some of these great scenes were ruined, since we just had to have a 10-minute interval between one simple scene. For example, the scene of Hank trying to put a mind control device on Lucy should have been intense, but because we needed to cut away 2 times, any tension that was in the scene was completely gone. Honestly, if the show was re-edited, I would enjoy the season a lot more. Overall, the season isn't that bad, but it's a complete drop in quality compared to the first season. But even with a rough season, I'm still excited for season 3. Hope they can learn from their mistakes from this one and structure the next season a lot better. But at the end of the day, Fallout is still a great show, which I would easily rewatch the first season, no problem. I just recommend that you watch the second season with some breaks so you can have a breather between all the chaos. But before I end the video, I want to rank these episodes, so let's just get right into it. Starting from the worst, we start with Profligate, The Other Player, The Handoff, The Past, The Innovator, The Strip, The Trap, The Golden Rule, The Demon in the Snow, The Radio, The Wrangler, The Head, The Ghoul, The Beginning, The End, and The Target. And that's it. Even though season 2 was a bit rough, I'm glad I was able to finally sit down and watch the show. Hopefully season 3 can bring the show's quality back up. But for now, if you haven't done so, subscribe and like the video so you can keep up with the new video releases. I'll see you all in the next one.